So welcome to Once Upon a Pandemic series with myself, Yvonne Redden. This series is all about sharing stories on staying positive through these challenging times. And I'm going to be talking to people from around the globe. Today, we are talking to author, journalist and comedy writer, Paul Howard. And thanks for joining me today, Paul. How
Absolute
are you
pleasure.
getting on with the lockdown?
Oh, I mean, I could give you
Are
an
you
answer
staying
today.
positive?
Yeah. But I mean, I could give you one answer today and I could give you a totally different answer tomorrow.
I know.
Actually, I think it changes from hour to hour at this
Yeah.
stage, you know. I suppose like anybody, I go through periods of positivity and then I go through periods of despair. And
Yeah.
I just try to kind of manage myself during those sort of darker periods. But it's a strange thing what this pandemic has done to us, because it's taken away all the stuff that makes life worthwhile for
Yeah.
me, which is seeing my family, seeing my friends, going out for dinner, going to the cinema, going to the theater, going on holidays, Christmas, all those
Yeah.
things. And it's taken all those things out of our lives, or at least sort of changed them very fundamentally, so
Yeah.
they become less enjoyable. But it's left us with work. You know, it's left us with, we still have to get up every morning and do
Yeah.
our work. So it's really horrible in that sense, that it's sort of stripped all the enjoyment out of life.
It's a real time of reflection, though, I think, isn't it? Like, people have been reflecting a lot. And did we really need all those things anyway, you know, beforehand?
I can tell you, I need them.
I know lots of people. I'd like some of them, but maybe not all of them. I don't mind the isolation, but for a little while.
Yeah.
But I need to know it's coming back. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I feel that as well. You know, I mean, I'm not saying I need to go to a restaurant or I need to go on holidays every.
I need a holiday, Paul.
But I do, you know, I do feel that my life is on some kind of suspended animation at the moment.
Yeah, it seems it's harder this lockdown, I think, isn't it? Because it's number 3. It just seems harder this time.
I think there was a novelty about the first one.
Yeah.
I think I remember clearly, I was at a funeral, actually. It was the 12th of March last year. I was at a funeral in Ballybrack, and we knew we were locking down. So my wife and I jumped in the car and we came down to Avoca here in Wicklow, where we have a house. And we've been here ever since. But I think back then there was a kind of novelty about it. There was a sense that, you know, I remember clearly we had a pile of DVDs beside the television. And I'd been promising Mary for about 9 years that I was going to watch them. And I said to her, oh, well, like, you know, if I don't watch them in the next 12 months, I'm never going to watch them.
Exactly, yeah.
I still haven't watched them, by the way.
They're still there. They collected cobwebs. Yeah.
I remember that time all my friends were talking about how they were going to, you know, what they were going to do with the lockdown. They were going to learn a language, or they were going to end up with a washboard stomach, or, you know, they were going to start a degree, or they were going to read, you know, all the Charles Dickens novels.
Yeah.
And this time there's none of that. Like this time it just feels like, because it's the 3rd total lockdown, it's starting to feel like a real liberty or something, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's hard this time. I know a lot of people are doing the sea swimming and all that as well. It's great. And I love it myself. Yeah. Like, but what do you, like, do you have a routine that you do every day yourself? I know you're strict with your writing as well.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose the most positive thing is I get up early every morning. I come from a family of early risers. That comes from, you know, my dad would get up at 5:30 to go to work when we lived in Ballybrack. He worked on Pottery Road, so he didn't drive, so he used to walk to work, and he'd do the 7 o'clock till 3 o'clock shift. So he'd be up, you know, 5:30. I'd hear him going out the door. And
he didn't work in B&D, did he?
No, he worked in Warner Lambert.
Oh yeah, my father used to do B&D, and he was on a shift like that as well, or else do the nights. Yeah.
So we were always early risers in our house, and I still have that habit now. So I get up at 5 o'clock every morning to work. My brain my mind is more active, I think, at 5 o'clock in the morning anyway. I just I find it easier to write at that time. Now, that's not to say I jump out of bed singing June is bursting out all over. Like I do find it really, really hard.
Yeah.
And it is hard work to get up and, at 5 o'clock in the morning when it's pitch dark on cold mornings, the house isn't warm yet,
Yeah.
to make your way to your desk. I mean, I've had mornings sitting at this desk when I'm writing, and I've got one of these, I've got this mouse here, one of those track pads,
Oh,
and it's
yeah.
been so cold in the office that it won't click. It's frozen, right? So it won't click. So before I can start work, I have to kind of rub it off my jumper and get it really
You'd have to
hot.
get a hot water bottle for it, Paul.
Something like that, yeah.
But do you know what I was saying? Did you hear of the morning pages by Julia Cameron? That's a
No.
routine. She does that. The Artist's Way is her book, and it's like a course for 3 months. And she says
Right.
about the morning, she does the morning pages, I think it's called, where you get up every morning and you write 2 or 3 pages every morning, and that just gets you into some kind of routine. It just gets you to do something. Yeah.
I would say as well, though, Yvonne, like I don't think it's necessary to get up as early in the morning as I do, or even get up early in the morning at all if you want to write. I mean, I think I've obviously got some kind of masochistic tendency or something that gets me out of bed that early. But for a writer, it's really just about finding what suits you. I'm fascinated by other writers and how they do it, like what their routine is, because I know everybody's different. But like Cecilia Ahern, for instance, she certainly before she got married and had kids, her routine was she would stay up all night. So she would start writing at about 10 o'clock at night, and she would write longhand, and she'd write all night. And at 6 o'clock in the morning, she'd go to bed, and she'd sleep till about 2 in the day.
Oh my God.
And then she would get up and she would type what she wrote in longhand. She'd type it into the computer.
Wow.
And then she'd have her breakfast, which for me would be dinner.
Yeah. Obviously that all changed when she had kids. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it did. I mean, I can't imagine. I'd say it would be hard to run a family life with that kind of schedule, But we used to joke that we actually could have shared a house and never ever met each other.
And never met each other. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's just really about, I mean, I don't think it's necessary to get up early. I do it just because it's a sort of discipline thing for me. I know my mind works better at that time. I know my mind gets a bit tired in the afternoon, so I'm better off finishing at about 3 or 4 o'clock. And I generally go for a walk in the afternoon and trying to, I put on about a stone during the first
stop. The
lockdown.
COVID stone is more than a stone. I think it's about 2 stone.
I mean, it was just, it wasn't even that I was doing anything completely, out of the ordinary. It was just that we were cooking an extra meal a day. So usually, if Mary's not here, Mary works in Dublin, so usually she'd, if she's not here, I would just have a piece of toast for lunch or something, or a boiled egg, and get back to the desk. But then we started cooking a lunch every day as well as a dinner. Yeah. And then my portions certainly started to get a little bit bigger and bigger. And then, because you kind of feel you deserve it, I think there is that thing, if you feel you're being deprived, you kind of think, well, I'm going to have that. I'm going to have all of that. I'm not having the half portion. I'm having all of it.
It's a comfort thing, especially in these times.
Yeah. And I'm having a glass of wine with that. I don't care that it's Tuesday night.
I know, it doesn't matter. Should the days roll into each other anyway, don't they?
Yeah, totally. I mean, it feels like, that period between Christmas and New Year.
Oh, that week, yeah.
You never really know what day of the week it is. And, you're just eating the quality street with both hands.
It's felt like that for a year nearly now.
That's exactly it. And that's how I still feel now.
Yeah. And come here, can I ask you, how do you think Ross O Carroll's doing in the pandemic? I know you have the podcast there. How's he doing?
He's doing okay.
There has to be a book in there, Paul.
Yeah, the lockdown years. Yeah. I'm bringing out a book of columns in April.
Oh, and brilliant.
It's called Rock of Ages, from boom days to Zoom days.
Very good, yeah.
It's a collection of about 120 of my favorite columns from the Irish Times over the last 15 years or so. So there's quite a bit of the COVID column, but quite a few of the COVID columns have gone into that.
Yeah.
I suppose he's struggling with the same things as the rest of us. And I always try to put topical things into the weekly column in the Irish Times. So like banana bread was.
I was going to say the banana bread, yeah.
Last year. I mean, I don't even like banana bread, like, you know, and every time I went out to the kitchen, there was more banana bread in the oven.
I
And so I
know.
had this idea that Ross's wife, Sorika, was cooking all this banana bread, you know, 15 loaves of banana bread, and she was giving it out to the neighbors. But Ross went out to distribute it, and everybody else was giving, as he was handing over the banana bread, they were giving him banana bread back. So
Oh,
somebody
stop. You
had the
couldn't get
Happy
rid of it.
Pear one, somebody made the Nigella Lawson one,
Yeah.
you know. So and he made, I think she made the Jamie Oliver one. So anyway, he comes back to the house with more banana bread than he actually
And then he
left.
was trying to do the dry January. Well, his wife was trying to get him to do it, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah.
It didn't
Which
last
in a
very long.
pandemic year, forget about it. You know what on earth? What kind of a mad individual would try to do dry
Exactly.
January with this going on?
What do you think he'd feel about the dry rovers?
The dry rovers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think he'd be appalled. I
He'd be
think
down in his Speedos. I know I'm a dry rover. I just think it's hilarious. He'd be
I
down in
think
his
his
Speedos
mother.
giving out.
Yeah, I think his mother would be more exercised by it though. You know, like
Yeah.
she just lives for her campaigns, like, you know, her
Yeah.
move from the land to the north side campaign and all that kind of thing, you know. So
So when is
I
that
think
book coming out, Paul?
that's out the 6th of April.
Oh, brilliant. That'd be
6th
brilliant.
of
That's
April.
really
Yeah.
interesting. Oh, brilliant. And I wonder, I suppose for people who are wanting to start writing and all that, is there any like basic writing tips, any advice you can give to them, even if they wanted to start journaling even?
Yeah. I think the most important thing you can learn, the most important discipline you can learn as a writer is concentration.
Mm.
And it sounds really boring. Uh, but to be honest with you, I think it's the most important skill that you can learn as a writer. And I tell
Yeah.
young people this all the time, and especially, you know, people who are sort of in their teens and 20s now, concentration is just something that doesn't really, sorry, this is one of those real life
Maybe
moments.
it's Ross. He's after hearing us talking or something, is
Yeah,
he?
it might be. Well, listen, at least it's not a kid bundling in the background saying, Daddy,
Oh.
can I have 2 biscuits?
Oh, 2 biscuits. It's more than two. Oh, stop. I have that here as well. I have them all. I have them full of, they're full of chocolate so I can do a Zoom.
Yeah.
And
But
yeah, I
but
think,
concentrate. Sorry, I was talking about
yeah,
concentration, and
yeah.
it's just so important because there's, especially for young people. Sorry.
This is the way what happens on live Zooms.
Sorry. Okay, it's gone now. I'm going to throw this out of the room. Okay.
Literally.
Yeah, I mean, concentration it's just such an important thing, and especially now because there are so many distractions in everyday life. Even just when you sit down at a computer now. When I started writing, I did all my writing initially on an old rackety typewriter, and then after that on a computer that was made by a company called Wang, which is this crowd in Limerick. And it was this enormous computer that cost about like $5,000 or something ridiculous. Those early kind of home computers, but it didn't have the internet on it because the internet hadn't been invented then.
Just for typing.
And the internet has been, the internet on computers is just the ruination of the
concentration.
Writing,
yeah.
Because there are just so many other things that I could be doing on a computer other than staring at that blank page.
Yeah.
And one of the toughest things about writing, I think, is learning to deal with that blank page, you know, learning to look at the blank page with the blinking cursor and not be intimidated by it. It's waiting for you to type a word. And sometimes there are days you get up and, you know, I could write, you know, 500 words in an hour. And then there are days where I could just spend 2 hours trying to think of the right word or the right joke or the right, you know.
Yeah. I mean, like, can you just write randomly? I always say, like, I teach creative writing classes, even just write, and it doesn't have to be chronological or go, you know, one after, and you can put it all together after, just to write down whatever comes in.
It is a good exercise.
Yeah.
Because I learned writing as a journalist. I was a sports writer for years. And we weren't indulged in that way, in that you could say it's just not happening today, or I've got writer's block, or
Yeah.
I'm working really slowly today. You had to produce words, because if you didn't make your deadline, what
Yeah.
you were working on didn't get into the newspaper. So that was quite a good discipline for me, to actually sit down and force myself to do it. And I do always say to people that it might not be, what you write, it might not be Tolstoy, but you can work on it again tomorrow. You can go over
Exactly.
what you
Yeah.
did, what you did yesterday, go over it again tomorrow, and improve it. And I always find writing is rewriting. That's essentially the essence of writing, is rewriting, and nothing you commit to the paper is the finished product. It's like practice swings in golf, really.
Yeah.
That's just your first draft. And
Yeah.
I'm writing the next Ross O Carroll Kelly book at the moment, and there's lines there, and I know the jokes can be sharper, I know the lines can be funnier,
Yeah.
but I'm not panicking, because I know I'm going to have 2 or 3 opportunities between now and the time it
Yeah.
goes to
And have you
press
got a
to
title for it?
go over it again. Not yet.
They're always
Again,
good.
they always come very. Sometimes they come early, sometimes they come late in the day. But
Yeah.
I haven't got it yet. I have a few ideas, but I can't. I don't want to say them yet until
Yeah.
I've made my mind up. But yeah, concentration is the key
Yeah.
thing, because you have to be able to. You have to be able to live with that silence in your head. While and there are so many other things you can be doing. You can go on Amazon and shop for books that you want. You can be emailing your friends. You can be on social media. You can be cracking jokes on Twitter, or getting into rows with people on social media. There's a hundred things you can be doing on your computer other than writing, or other than staring at the page. But staring at the page is what you need to do.
So discipline and concentration is the key ones, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it sounds really boring,
Yeah.
but they're the key things. And the other thing I always say to people who want to be writers is, the pubs in Ireland are full of people who will tell you that they have a book in them.
Yeah.
And they probably do, but they never write them.
Yeah.
So
I think everyone has a story to tell, Paul, don't they?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. But don't be like those people. If you have a story to tell,
write it.
Tell the story. Don't become a bore in the pub telling people that you could have written a book.
Yeah.
Because no, that's one story nobody wants to hear.
Exactly. Just do it. And you haven't written a memoir yet. I just asked all my guests this question. If you were to write your memoir title in 3 to 4 words, what would you call it? Come on, you're good at the headlines. You must have a good one.
I think it would be called "Who Are You Again?" Because it's
perfect.
It's what I always get asked. But back in the day, when I was a younger man, I'd be going out at night, and you'd be trying to blag your way into nightclubs that, they didn't want to let you in.
Yeah.
Like places like Lily's and Reynard's and stuff, where I used to do my research for Ross O Carroll.
Can you believe I've never been to Copperface?
Copperface Jack's?
Never.
Copperface Jack's.
I know. And I know you have a play and everything. I've never been to. I've heard so much about it. I missed that boat. Yeah, we went to different venues.
You haven't missed the boat, because you can be any age. It really doesn't matter. There's no boat. The great thing about Copperface Jack's is nobody gives you a second look. No one cares what you're wearing, who you are. Whereas those other places,
they did.
Lily's, and they were kind of like.
They were different.
Kind of feel like you were in a catwalk or something, wearing the wrong gear.
I always found them disappointing. I remember going into Lily's one night and I was like, is this it? Everyone goes on about it. Like it was nothing like what I imagined. Yeah,
but see, the thing about Lily's is you'd always be aware that there's levels as well. And there always seemed to be another level, and I wasn't on it. So one week you'd meet a couple of mates, and one of them might know the bouncers, so you might say, they're letting us up to the next level, and I go to the next level, and I'd be going, God, isn't it? And I go, it doesn't feel special or anything in here, and then someone says, no, there's another level above this. I think I got up to the 3rd level.
I was going to ask you, how many did you get up to?
But there's a 4th. There's a library at the very, very top. Yeah, which is where, when the celeb, Bono and everything used to come, they'd all end up in the library at the very, very top,
Oh, stop. And look down at all the levels. Look at all the minions below and laughing at us. Come here. I was looking at an article that you wrote there. I think it was before Christmas about your lockdown project has been to catalogue your experiences of excruciating embarrassment. Now,
Yeah.
there's 20 of them. There was one I wanted to ask you about. You said for 2 years, on and off, you wore an aftershave that turned out to be a woman's perfume. What one was it?
Can't remember. I can't remember.
Don't say 4711 or something.
No, I can't remember. And the worst thing about it was, this is about 25 years ago, so no, I can't remember. But I do know at that time, there were a lot of these kind of unisex scents out there, like CK1 and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
But what I will say is, it smelled nothing like CK1, right? It was only when it was pointed out to me, I realized that it isn't even close to an aftershave. That is perfume.
It probably was an
aftershave. It on and off for
years. Probably wasn't even perfume either.
It definitely was, but maybe that actually probably explains why I couldn't get into Reynard's and Lily's for all of them.
And I won't keep you because I know you're busy writing your book. Could I ask you a small little favor? So I have a friend that's living in Melbourne, I think 30, 40 years. She's over there a long time. She's a big fan of Ross O Carroll. Would you say hello to her for me? Her name is Joy.
Of course. What's her name?
Joy.
Joy.
Yeah.
Okay. Hello, Joy, from Paul Howard and from Ross O Carroll Kelly in lockdown Ireland. I hear great things about Melbourne at the moment. I heard you've conquered the pandemic, so I hope you're enjoying your freedom. Hello.
Thank you, Paul. That's brilliant. Yeah, they're out of their lockdown, thank God. She said it's like they really did it strictly, though. I mean, it worked.
Yeah. I think that the thing about Australia is, I think because they're so geographically isolated, they seem to have, and because their kind of biosphere is just so sensitive, they seem to have a greater sense of sort of civic responsibility more than we do, whereas we're kind of trying to come up with ways to get around the rules. They tend to have an understanding that the rules are actually in place for their own good. For instance, when they bring in a hose pipe ban over there, it would never occur to anybody to break the ban.
Absolutely.
And nobody has to rat anybody else out, because they just say, well, this isn't, they're not doing this just to annoy us, this is for our good. We don't have that, I think, in Ireland. I think we are a nation of kind of blaggers, and we tend to be looking for ways around these rules.
Rather than absolutely.
Just, I'll observe this for 3 months and we might be all better off because of it.
Yeah. Paul, thanks very much. I'm
You're welcome,
delighted.
Yvonne.
Thank you for your time.
No, you're welcome. All right.
And thanks for being part of this series. I'm hoping it'll lift people up with a few tips on writing, a bit of positivity from yourself. And please stay safe. And I'll see you all next time on Once Upon a Pandemic. And bye for now. Thanks a lot, Paul.
You're welcome.